Hey everyone, welcome to a new Open RCT2 challenge. Now, one user suggested to me to play Sprightly Park and try to repay the debt before the end of the scenario. So here we have Sprightly Park. It's an RCT1 scenario. I'm quickly going to pause the game. So in this scenario you need at least 1500 guests in your park at the end of October year 3 with a park rating of at least 600. The debt of the park is 250,000. So that's a lot of money to repay. So, well, if we look at the rides that are available at the start, they're not too great. I see a side friction coaster and a Virginia reel. I'm going to quickly take a look at the rides which will be invented during the course of this scenario. Here we see the Junior coaster, Mine Train coaster, reverse roller coaster, side friction, spinning wild mouse, Virginia reel, and wooden roller coaster, and the wooden wild mouse. Now, the Junior coaster is probably the best one for this scenario, as you can make them quite compact and they're easy to spam. Yeah, for the thrill ride, there's not too many exciting options. If there was something like a rotor drop or launch free fall, I could spam those as well. I do see we get the information kiosk, so we can get some money from the guests using umbrellas. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is set the research to maximum, and I want to research the Junior roller coaster. There's not too many roller coasters to invent, so we should probably get it pretty soon. Well, I want to get as much money from these guests as possible. And then I'm probably just going to drop them into the ground, into the void, by blocking the exit of my Junior roller coasters that I'm going to build. Anyway, we want a lot of money from these guests, so let's just quickly check how much money these guests spawn with. This one starts with 90, this one with 80, this one starts with 90, this one also starts with 90, this one starts with 90 as well. This one starts with 60, and this one starts with 90. Well, 60 is the lowest I've seen here. Yeah, and if we go by the range, I believe the range of money that guests can have is usually around a range of 30 euros. So if we set it to 60, I believe every guest can enter the park. So I'm just going to immediately set it to 60 euros. So it will be good to already squeeze the most money out of the guests while we wait for the Junior coaster to be invented. I'm also already going to set some advertisement campaigns. Because, yeah, to get this amount of money, we already need to start doing this from the beginning. Okay, quickly going to check if we already have an information kiosk. Looks like we don't. So I'm going to build one close to the entrance. So when it rains, guests will pay a lot of money for these umbrellas. If you don't know, when it rains, guests just skip the price check for umbrellas and they will just pay the maximum amount for it, which is 20 euros. That is if they have 20 euros. Now, only the guests that start with 80 or 90 euros will be able to pay for these umbrellas. But I think that's still at least half of the guests that spawn. Okay, I'm just going to wait for the Junior coaster to be invented. And after that, I will start demolishing some rides here to make space for the Junior coasters. And then we can start dropping the guests into the void. Okay, the Junior coaster has been invented. And I need to set some new advertisement. That's what I'm going to do first. I already earned quite a lot of money in the first few months. So now I'm just going to demolish some of these rides just so I have some space for my Junior coasters. Now I want them to be as close to the entrance as possible so I can drop the guests into the void immediately after the guests enter the park. Okay, it looks like some of these... I'm not allowed to remove some of these rides. It looks like they're under preservation order. So I'll just close these rides and build around them. That's probably the coasters. Oh no, I can actually demolish this coaster. So it might just be the Virginia reel. Okay, I'm going to use a junior coaster design here, which I copied from Marcel Vos. Who else? So I'm just going to quickly check if we can build it here. Probably not. This is probably not enough space. Alright, I should be able to build it right over here. So it's just 2 station pieces. I'll try to cram one here in the corner. Alright, this looks like an epic coaster to me. Going to set it to a higher number of circuits, not sure if it's necessary. And just going to make a station here, and I'll block off the exit. And I'll make the queue path to over here. And if we do it like this, I should be able to build several of them in quite a compact way. Okay, just naming it Epic Junior Coaster because it's such an amazing design. Alright, so that's my first roller coaster of the park. Well, except this one, which is closed. Yeah, I will try to keep all my guests around this area, and I'm going to spam a few more of these junior coasters. Now, one thing that's annoying about this park is that it's very uneven, or the land is, so it is quite difficult to put this spammable design here. But it looks like the advertisements campaigns are doing their job, and quite a lot of guests are coming in. Now, the park rating is dropping a lot, mostly because guests are leaving all the trash here, and they are also destroying all of the litter bins here. Probably because of the amount of trash. So I'm probably just going to have some handyman walk around here. Now, I really want these guests away from the park, because then I can demolish these paths. The guests seem to love littering on these paths, and litter really drops down your park rating, so that's probably a good thing to avoid. So if you have a good park rating, more guests will spawn in your park. Now, most of the guests spawn from advertisements in my park anyway, so it's not too big of a deal. But I'd like to have these paths gone anyway. Okay, since oh, I actually forgot to raise the entrance, the exit, the land in front of the exits here. Okay, that's important to do, because then the guests will actually be removed from the park. Now, since none of these rides are actually reachable by a mechanic, we can just sack all of them. And that will save us quite a bit of money. Okay, the capacity of these rides isn't the best. So what I'm going to do is set them to 1 lap, see if they still have alright stats, and that should help remove guests from the park. Because after they have paid the entrance fee, they're pretty much useless. Setting the number of circuits to 1 should improve the throughput of the ride, and should allow me to drop more guests into the void. Okay, one thing that makes some of your advertisement campaigns more effective is, well, for example, I now have advertisement campaign for a free ride on Epic Junior Coaster. Now, right now that ride is free, so that advertisement campaign will have its effectiveness reduced. Well, first of all, it's broken down now, so I'll have to remove it anyway. Actually, for this demonstration, I will just quickly repair it. So your advertisement campaigns for free rides on a ride will actually be more effective if you actually charge money for your ride. I don't know the exact amount, but I believe you have to charge at least 60 cents. So that should slightly increase the number of guests actually entering the park. Okay, it's now October of the first year, and I'll start paying back part of my loan now. We didn't do too bad in the first year, but it can definitely be better. Okay, it looks like we have some really good years now. The amount of money I earned has fluctuated quite a bit over the past years, but starting from September it has been really good. So I'm confident that I can pay off my loan within the next 2 years. Okay, something which I can still do to improve the amount of guests that spawn a little bit is try to win awards. And one of them that's really easy to win is by coloring your rides in these bright colors. So there's bright green, bright orange, bright purple, and there's also pink. And if you color most of your tracked rides in those colors, there's a chance to win the most dazzling color scheme award. It's just awards just slightly increase the amount of guests that spawn, but I think it's in the end it's worth it. And of course it will make my park look a little bit nicer. Okay, we're earning a lot of money now from mostly from park entrance tickets. In June we earned almost 20,000, so that's really nice. So every time one of these rides breaks down, I just replace them, so I don't have to pay any money for a mechanic, and I just can leave their exits unconnected. So it's going quite well now. So yeah, definitely confident we can beat this challenge. We're down to 75,000 from 250,000. So I think in around 6 more months we will have definitely repaid the loan. Now, if you ever struggle with a scenario in this game, advertisement campaigns are very overpowered. So basically, normally the amount of guests that spawn just gets calculated from the amount of guests you have, your park rating, your park value, etc, etc. Lots of factors factoring in. It mostly just depends on the amount of rides you have and their stats. So if you just keep spamming rides, a lot of guests will spawn. But for example, if you have a lot of litter in your park rating goes down, then the amount of guests that spawn goes very low. Or if you don't have many rides, your spawn rate will also be very low. Now, advertisement campaigns, for advertisement campaigns, all those things don't factor in. So it's just the game will just have a separate counter for the guests that spawn from advertisement campaigns. So for example, if you just select an advertisement campaign for the park, yeah, the game will just start spawning more guests regardless of how well your park is doing. So also, for example, if your park entrance fee is very high, for the advertisement campaigns that really doesn't matter. So you can just set an insanely high park entrance fee, and if you do an advertisement campaigns, the guests will still keep coming in. So that's just a very easy way to make a lot of money in this game. For scenarios where guests pay for the park entrance fee, of course. Okay, it looks like I've actually made enough money to fully repay the loan. So here we go, the loan's 40,000, and I can now just take it all the way down to 0. So that's phase 1 of the scenario. Now there's just a few more months to go before it's October, and we still need 1500 guests, so that's going to be the next step. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect all the ride exits, and I'm going to have some mechanics in the park, some handymen. I'm going to add lots of paths to prevent overcrowding, maybe make some rides here in the back as well, and just try to get as many guests into the park as possible. And now is probably also a good moment to start the advertisement for free entry to the park, because that should get in a lot of extra guests as well. And as soon as I've earned some extra money, I'm going to drop the park entrance fee as well. Now, one of the reasons for guests to leave the park would be if they run out of money. So I'm just dropping the park entrance fee a bit to prevent that from happening. So then the guests will actually stay in the park longer. 1500 guests is quite a lot. I'm confident we can do that before October. But yeah, we still are going to need a lot of them. I'm just going to extend the park a bit more to the back like I did here. And I'll add some extra rides here in the back, also to lure some of the guests here to this part of the park, and that's simply to prevent overcrowding in this area. Okay, it's now August of year 3. There's just 2 months remaining, but the amount of guests is rapidly climbing. Especially in the last month, a lot of guests have entered. So we should be able to get the required amount of guests in these last 2 months. Now, one good way to prevent overcrowding is increasing the length of your queues. So that's one thing I'm going to try and do here for several of these rides. Okay, it's now October of the last month. We just need 300 guests more. So yeah, let's just hope we can make this happen. Okay, and we have beaten the scenario. The 23rd of October, year 3. A bit too close for my comfort. But I'm happy that I managed to do this. So, is it possible to completely repay your loan in Sprightly Park before beating the scenario? Yes, it is. It was quite close, but I managed to do it right before the deadline of the scenario. So yeah, the junior coaster, of course, very spammable, and that was really the key to beating the scenario. Just have the guests pay a lot of entrance fee, drop them into the void out of the park, and just try to get as many new guests to spawn as possible and get rich. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this RCT2 challenge. I had fun doing this, and I'll see you again in the next video. See you later.